Blacksmithing has a really rich heritage in Ireland, going right back to the kind of dawn of our society. He's played a really pivotal role in early society, a craftsman who could make tools and all manner of decorative things, and it became surrounded in tradition, folklore and magic, the dark room, the sparks and the strange kind of sounds and smells. But really he was a toolmaker at heart, and that's from the nail to the plough. He was a craftsman who could make all the tools of all the other trades. I actually had a dream about being a blacksmith. I was a bored, stressed out computer operator, and I wanted to kind of find something which was more creative, something which was going to fulfill me. And I had the romantic notion that I could just go off and get an apprenticeship. But when I did try to approach blacksmiths in Wales, I couldn't do anything at the time useful, couldn't even weld, so I got turned down. I nearly gave up on the idea and went to college to do a degree in archaeology. But actually getting onto that course, I met a retired blacksmith and he wrote me a letter of recommendation to Hereford College, and that got me in there. I did a year's basic blacksmithing at Hereford, 97 to 98, and I came out of there with distinctions. Really, I'm still learning, and that's 22 years later. I haven't done it all. It's a massive field, blacksmithing, so there's so much to learn. My work is way more kind of traditional. I could divide my work into a few different categories. I still have the tool making. I do that for myself and would be making old tools for people who can't just go and buy their tools in shops. Then you have the kind of architectural ironwork, gates, railings, that side of thing. And then you've got the more kind of hardware things of hooks and more little decorative items and commissions kind of based on that. Here at Muckcross Traditional Farms, we get a very real idea of the tools and equipment blacksmiths used in the past and the skill that they had in manipulating the material. So the anvil, or this shape, the London pattern anvil, which grew out of the medieval times to be the best shape for blacksmithing. And the primary surface is the tool face here, which is flat for doing most of the work on. We then have the horn or bick for bending round and bending things on. And between these two we have the cutting face. This is on a soft bit of iron, so we can actually physically cut down if we have to, and it's a softer bit there. Then we have the hardy hole here, that's a tool holding hole, and we have the hardy, which is the most common tool used, that's the cutting off chisel, but often other tools were used for maybe difficult shaping, which we can do on the anvil, or the riveting, bottom of the riveting tools and that kind of thing. And then at the end here we have the pritchel hole, that's for punching holes in, traditionally for the horseshoes, but also for just making general holes. And we can have another tool that works in there as well, which is the hold fast, and that is for gripping down metal to give me a spare pair of hands. So you could put a piece there, hit that, and that is super solidly on the anvil, and a little tap backwards and it's free again. So I have it's like a spare pair of hands for me. This anvil is particularly a great old anvil in the fact that you can really see that 90% of it is made of soft iron, but there's a little line here of where we can see where this hard steel plate was welded to the body of the anvil to give it that work face. So there's our ball peen, and that is the ball peen bit, and they come in all shapes and sizes depending on the work you're doing. And then you have ones where you might have a more rounded kind of end on one for different work. And then you have the kind of cross peen hammers, and that moves the metal in that direction but not that way, so we can kind of spread things and get more control, and there's a smaller version of that. And then you have kind of unique hammers like this one, little leafing hammer. It's got a very long cross peen to get into awkward shapes, and a nice little roundy faced hammer for more lighter, delicate work. One of my favourites, that one, because I made him myself. The heritage work is a very interesting side that kind of incorporates a lot of all of that stuff. It's very interesting how this ironwork has survived for such a long time, and that's principally because it's made of raw iron, and that is a type of metal and not a decorative or ornamental style of metal work. It's actually the metal itself, and that's a really important fact, because that is principally why that metalwork and those gates and railings have survived so long, for over 200 years, is because it's made of raw iron. It doesn't rust very easily. It's very fibrous in its nature, a bit like wood. It's kind of got layers, and that's because of the way it was made. They had to bring out the molten metal, and they folded it and draw it out and folded it, and that gave it this kind of laminated layer quality. And wrought means to be hammered. It's the old word, to be hammered. That differs hugely from the mild steel that we get nowadays, which rusts very quickly, and is a very important fact in the kind of heritage work that we work with the old metal. What's very interesting for Ireland is its history of metalworking, because in this area of Kerry we go right back to the real cradle of metalworking. We've got Bronze Age copper mines in Muckross, and we also have a huge amount of bog iron around, and that bog iron was the principal ore for iron into the Middle Ages of Europe. And they used to make that in a little cupola furnace, which is a little 4 foot high, 5 foot high kind of clay chimney, and you have a hole at the top and a hole at the bottom for the air to be blown in by the bellows. You add in equal measures of ore, charcoal, and maybe some flux in the form of limestone, and burn that over 6 hours, and at the end of the day you break it open out of the bottom. First comes the impurities and stuff, but then you get out this lump of metal which they call a bloom, and then that's pounded down and made into bars. Principally in the old days, the only methods that they had for joining together iron was either riveting or fire welding. Riveting is like having a nail where it's heated up and it's hammered over on both sides, and that joins things together very tightly. That was used right into shipbuilding and that kind of thing. And then you really had the great skill of the blacksmiths of old was their fire welding, the ability to actually fuse metal back together into one piece by heating it up so it's molten on the outside but without burning it, and joining it together. That was used in all manner of things, from the tyres for cartwheels, putting on steel onto iron to make tools for axes and things like that. And you can really see that in the decorative ironwork from olden days. All that's flowing scroll work, and it's all actually separate pieces all welded together to make one flowing kind of design. Luckily, there are many people in Ireland who share my passion for history and preserving the past, and it is widely understood that if we don't preserve these old traditional skills and crafts, they will be lost. There was a whole generation that died after the Second World War, when blacksmithing went for a very low point. Mass production took over a large part of the work that the blacksmith made, and also the electric welder. Suddenly the farmer could do his own repairs. So there was a very low point. A whole generation didn't pass their knowledge on because they didn't think it was worth it. They thought it was a dying trade. But there's a whole renewed interest in blacksmithing now. Partly due to the smith's ability to kind of change his work and adapt to the world, but also because there's a lot of people who do love the past and like handmade things and see there's a real quality in that kind of work. Also, the Heritage Council is very supportive, and Tralee is benefiting from the grants they provide. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the forge one day. And to end, a traditional Irish blacksmith saying, God bless the work.